I had no idea how my life was about to change. My husband, daughter, and I were traveling with my parents to sunny Florida, and other than a nagging uneasiness, which I chose to ignore, my life could not have been better. I attributed my security to my very practical faith. I had given my heart to Jesus as a child and knew I would go to heaven when I died, and I felt satisfied at my refusal to believe anything I could not see or explain. Since there was no earthly reason for me to feel apprehensive, I continued to shrug off a slight discomfort in my side that tugged for attention. Then suddenly one night, I passed the stage of warning. I felt as though something was exploding in my side, boiling and burning mercilessly. An ambulance rushed me to a hospital near our hotel. Doctors struggled for days with a diagnosis until surgery revealed that I had suffered a ruptured appendix 11 days before and that a mass of gangrene had coated all of my organs, causing them to disintegrate. Even as I lapsed into a coma, I argued with the likelihood of such news, while my praying family thanked God that I had lived as long as I had. Out of my hearing, the doctors explained to my family that further complications of pneumonia and collapsed veins meant I could not live long. Early one morning, after I had hung on in a coma for 44 days, the night nurse on the 3rd floor came to check my vital signs and found no response to her probings. I had slipped from this life into the next. At 5 o'clock in the morning, a doctor pronounced me clinically dead, pulled a sheet over my head, and left the room in darkness. That was the state in which my father, who had awakened in the night with an urgent desire to be with me, found me 28 minutes later. I knew nothing of these earthly activities, of course. I felt as though I were on a roller coaster ride at Disneyland and arrived at my destination when I reached the highest peak of exhilaration. It was much like taking the fastest jet imaginable from Earth to another planet, a bright and glorious place under a deep blue sky. There was no fear, only peacefulness and beauty. I was immediately aware of majestic music, filled with exquisite harmonies from countless choirs. Around my feet, living waves of flowers splashed the velvet green meadows with color. I felt fulfilled, youthful, alive as I walked tall and erect up a beautiful hill toward a brilliant city. I had never experienced such joy or eager anticipation. Then I realized I was not alone. I glanced to my left and saw a tall companion in flowing white robes. An angel. I remembered childhood thoughts about angels, wondering what they did and what they looked like, but I could never have imagined a being with such beauty, power, and assurance. His face had masculine features. His hands were large and strong. I felt comfortable in his presence, and somehow knew that he had been with me from the time I was 13 and asked Jesus to be my Lord and Savior. I had never known he was there, possibly because I had never been so aware of my surroundings or my need. For without a doubt, he was a necessary part of my transition from the life I was leaving to the new life just ahead. Side by side, we took long, even strides up the sloping hillside. We spoke no words, but communicated easily just by thinking what we wanted to express. I also realized we could travel as quickly as our thoughts could choose a destination. A desire to see my earthly grandmother of my childhood days, for instance, could transport us to her porch swing with warm summer breezes and honeysuckle sweetening the air. Yet we walked steadily toward our destination. We reached an enormous sheet of translucent pearl, apparently a gate in the city walls, through which I could detect great brightness. My guardian angel reached his hand out to touch it, and as if from the warmth of his touch, a hand-sized opening melted outward to the borders of the gate. Instantly, I was bathed in warm light and felt completely whole. Every yearning of my heart